Hello, today we're going to graph quadratic inequalities and solve quadratic inequalities. We're going to do most of this on our calculator, so make sure you have your calculator out ready to go. Okay, first we're going to graph this quadratic inequality and just sketch the graph on our graphing calculator. So go to your graphing calculator, make sure you have your Inequals app running. If not, click Apps, scroll down to Inequals, hit Enter, Enter. Okay, I went ahead and put the first inequality into my calculator, and this is what I have. There's a negative right here. There you go. We're going to hit Zoom 6 to make sure your window goes back to normal from whenever we last used it. Okay, and all I ask that you do is sketch this graph so I know that you actually graphed it on your calculator onto your notes. So I had a solid line, the vertex was about here, and the shading was around my inequality. That's it, pretty simple, right? So I want you to go ahead, pause the video, try the first you try, graph this on your graphing calculator and sketch the graph. Pay attention to whether the parabola is solid or dashed and whether the shading is inside the parabola or outside. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to our graphing calculator again and we're going to put this system in. And we are going to have to hit the alpha shades #1 so that it only graphs the intersection of the system. So get your graphing calculator out and start putting that in. Okay, as you notice, I went and punched these two inequalities into my graphing calculator. Make sure you do that. Watch the signs. Make sure you put a negative in here, not a minus sign. Make sure you put a minus sign in here. Watch that because if you get an error syntax, that means you switched one of them. Go to Zoom 6, graph the system, and it's going to be kind of a mess. So it's hard to see where the intersection of the inequalities are. So we're going to hit alpha y equals #1. Did it do it? Alpha y equals. Hold on a second. There we go. And this is the graph I want you to sketch. Sorry, it's a little bit slow. That's okay. It gives you an opportunity to punch the buttons in on your calculator. Okay, so pay attention to where the shading is. There's no shading in between, right here, in between the two parabolas. It's just right here. And then the rest of it's going to end up disappearing. It's just the calculator's moving a little slow. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch that on my graph. So I had a dashed line. It went a little bit below the x-axis. Okay, I had another dashed line that went right on the x-axis. The parabolas in my graph were a little thinner. And the shading was just right here. That's what I want to see. So go ahead, pause the video. I want you to try the second you try. Right here, #2 you try. Try that, put it in on your calculator, and sketch the graph. Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to talk about solving quadratic inequalities. We're going to do this all by our calculator. So like I said, it's really important that you follow along with me because I'm not reteaching what buttons to press tomorrow in class. So here are the steps. We're going to graph the inequality on your calculator, replacing 0 with y. So when we put this into our calculator, we are going to replace 0 with y. So what we're really typing in, look, it's pointing towards the y, so make sure it's pointing towards the y. Don't mess up the inequality because it will mess up our answers. Then we're going to type in 2x squared plus x minus 4. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and graph that on our graphing calculator. We're going to find the zeros. We need to know what x equals. Where does that parabola hit the y or the x-axis? And then we'll talk about how we write our solution. So let's go ahead to our calculator screen. Okay, welcome back. A couple things I want you to pay attention to. So I put this into my graphing calculator. I want you to sketch the graph to show that the shading is on the outside, because this is going to matter how we write our solutions. Now we're going to find the x-intercepts. We're going to find this one and this one. You are going to need to do left and right. So put a vertical line on the x-axis, or on the, x-intercept. What would to the left of this point be? Anywhere over here. What would the right be? Anywhere over here. Do the same thing on this side. Left and right. That seems silly that I'm saying that, but if you mix up the left and right, depending on which x-intercept you find, you will get an error. So let's find this one first. So let's go ahead and go to second trace, which is calc. We're going to go down to 0. We're finding the 0 of the function, so number 2. It's going to ask for the left and right, so I need to find my cursor. I don't see where it's blinking right now. Oh, there it is. So I'm going to go up to where I have the L. My calculator's moving a little slow. Okay, that's good. When it stops moving, I'm going to hit enter. Enter. Now we're going to go to the right of it. Okay, hit enter again. This is where the 0 is at. So round this to the nearest tenth. I'm just going to write it off to the side here. So we get x equals negative 1.7. Now I'm going to find the other 0. So I'm going to hit second trace again. Number 2, I want 0. Okay, now the left of this point is over here. So I'm going to move my cursor over. I think it left off, yeah, where we just were. Yep. I like to get it past the vertex. I don't think it messes up the answer, but just so the calculator knows what we're talking about. So this is good. That's in the left region, so make sure it doesn't go past it. Hold on, I might have hit it too many times. Yes, I did. See, that's to the right, so we don't want it there. Okay, that's good. Hit enter. Now we're going to go to the right of that point. Hit enter again. It's guessing. And then we get 1.2. So x equals 1.2. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to our notes screen. So remember, we had a graph that looked like this. The shading was on the outside. So if the shading's on the outside, this is an OR. Why? Because we're finding what are the possibilities that x can be. So x can be from this point anywhere this way, that's to negative infinity, or this point anywhere that way. So when it's an OR, we're going to write it as negative infinity to our smaller number, the negative 1.7. This is an equal to, so it can equal it. U for union can equal 1.2 to infinity. This is what I want to see as our final answer. Okay, we're going to go ahead and try the second one together as well, and then there's only one for you to try on your own. Okay, before I do that, notice this is not equal 0, so I need to go ahead and subtract 10 on both sides. We're going to replace 0 with y, so y is, the inequality sign is going to be pointing towards the y, and we're going to get negative 6x squared plus 19x minus 10. This is what I'm putting into my calculator. So I'm going to go to my calculator screen. Oops. There we go. This is what I have. So let me just erase what I wrote. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do our trace. This is our point we need to find. This is going to be to the left, to the right. Then we need to find this point, left, right. So go ahead and hit second trace. I switched back to the regular calculator, the TI-84 without color, because it was moving a little too slow. So went down to 2, left bound. Oops. It tells you where it's at, so if you can't see it, there we go. That's left, enter. Go to the right of it. Look at where my cursor's at. Good enough. Enter. Guess. Enter again. So we get x to be 0.67, or 0.7 is fine. I said you can round to the nearest tenth. Now we're going to go ahead and find our other one. Second trace 2. Then we need the left of it. Did it do it? Second trace number 2. So we want the left of now the other point. So notice I'm going past the vertex. That's good. Enter. Right. Enter. Enter. and then I get 2.5. Now, let's talk about this. The shading is in between, so let's go back to our notes. Okay, it isn't equal to again. The shading was in between. So this time our x values can only be from here to here. Nothing is on the outside. So this is an and. So we put the smaller number first. It can equal it because there's an equal to 0.7 to 2.5. This is my answer. Okay? So it's really important that if you take a look at these steps, you remember this. And it makes sense when we talk about it when you actually sketch the graph. Okay, I do want you to pause the video, try this you try on your own. As you're doing it, like I said, please remember this information. Make sure you do not come in tomorrow with it blank. Make sure you're punching the buttons in on your calculator yourself, and I will see you tomorrow.